Hello once again, welcome back. Today we are going to discuss about human urinary system. It is a continuation of the previous video on excretory system. The human urinary system has been specially designed for removal of metabolic waste from the body. Though there are other organs also that help in the process of excretion, but this particular system has been specially designed only for filtration of blood and removal of the metabolic waste that has been collected from all over the body. Let us start with that. The process of filtration of blood starts with supply of oxygenated blood by dorsal aorta to both the kidneys. This blood carries oxygen to the kidneys. At the same time, it also has the waste material that has been collected from all over the body. This blood, when is supplied to the kidneys, is filtered by the kidneys so that all the waste materials are filtered away in the form of urine, and the blood is sent back by the vena cava. As you can see in this diagram, you are able to see both the major arteries and veins. Here we have the dorsal aorta and this is the vena cava. Dorsal aorta brings the oxygenated blood that has waste material into it, and vena cava takes the blood which is deoxygenated and is free of metabolic waste. Metabolic waste already has been filtered into the kidney. Once the metabolic waste has been filtered by the kidney, the metabolic waste is carried to the urinary bladder with the help of ureters. Here the pointer shows ureters. Ureters will pass the urine to the urinary bladder. Here you have the bladder. Now this bladder is a highly contractile structure, has the ability to store about 2 liters of urine at a time. That is, it is contractile. When there is no urine, it will contract, and the moment urine slowly enters into the bladder, it keeps on expanding and it can stretch up to a maximum capacity of 2 liters. Once the bladder is full, it is to be emptied out, and it is done with the help of the external opening called as urethra. Urethra is the opening that helps in passing the urine out, and this act of passing the urine out is also known as micturition. The process of passing the urine out into the exterior is also known as micturition. Now let us go into the details of the structure of kidneys. As you can see, the kidney is divided into 3 parts: pelvis, medulla and cortex. Pelvis is the innermost part of the kidney. Outer to the pelvis, the triangular structures that we are able to see are known as medulla. Then the lines that are formed in between the triangular structures are also called as medullary rays. Then the outermost part of the kidney is called as cortex, and just above the kidney are you able to see 2 crown-like structures. These 2 crown-like structures are the adrenal glands, a pair of adrenal glands that you must have studied about in your previous class. This is adrenal gland. Here we have the pelvis. This portion is called as medulla, and the outermost portion, the pink one, is known as cortex. The kidney has numerous nephrons that are the final units that help in filtration of blood. Each kidney has nearly about 1 million nephrons to filter the blood that has been brought by dorsal aorta and will filter out the metabolic waste from the body. Now let us go into the details of the internal structure of kidney. As we have already stated that kidney is divided into 3 parts. The innermost part which is called as pelvis, the second part which is known as medulla, and the final and the outermost portion of the kidney, which is known as cortex. Now if you see the internal structure of kidney, the cross section of kidney looks like this. Here the outermost portion that we are able to see, this one is known as cortex, and in the cortex we are able to see the structures called as nephrons. Now if you go into the details of the structure of nephron, you will be able to find that it starts with a circular structure called as Bowman's capsule. Bowman's capsule, which is supplied with a network of capillaries called as glomerulus. These capillaries supply the impure blood and take away the pure blood. These supply the impure blood. The impure blood is then filtered by the Bowman's capsule as glomerular filtrate. And then the next part, we are able to see a convoluted tubule, which is known as PCT. PCT means proximal convoluted tubule. This proximal convoluted tubule will continue into Henle's loop. This U-shaped structure is called as Henle's loop. Henle's loop will further continue into another convoluted tubule called as distal convoluted tubule. So we have two convoluted tubules, proximal convoluted tubule and distal convoluted tubule. Proximal means the one which is near to the Bowman's capsule, and distal means the one which is distant to the Bowman's capsule. Now once the blood has been filtered from the glomerulus, the glomerular filtrate will be passed through these tubules, and while passing through these tubules, water and other substances which are useful for the body will be reabsorbed, and finally the fluid that is left with only the substances which are either extra in the body, excess in the body, or are poisonous to the body, along with proper dilution levels, will be passed on to the collecting duct. This is called as collecting duct, which will finally collect the urine, and the urine will be brought to the ureters and will be passed to the urinary bladder. So the process of formation of urine is in 3 steps. Number 1, glomerular filtration. It is the filtration of the blood that has been brought by dorsal aorta in the glomerulus, and where it will be filtered into the lumen of Bowman's capsule. Almost complete fluid part, excluding the protein and the cells, will be filtered out from the glomerular filtration. The second one is tubular reabsorption. Tubular reabsorption is reabsorption of useful substances like nutrients, minerals and water as per the requirements of the body from the PCT, DCT and Henle's loop. All the 3 tubules will help in reabsorption of the required substances into the body, and here only it helps in the process of homeostasis and osmoregulation. The water is reabsorbed on the basis of the total water content of the body, and reabsorption of water is totally passive in nature, whereas at times the reabsorption of nutrients and minerals can be active in nature. Active means to supply energy, that is, the reabsorption takes place by supplying energy, and passive means to be reabsorbed along the concentration gradient. Along the concentration gradient means from higher concentration to lower concentration. If the concentration of water is higher in the Henle's loop, it will be reabsorbed into the blood. Now these PCT, DCT and Henle's loop are richly supplied with blood capillaries once again. So whatever nutrients are reabsorbed by these tubules will be finally poured back into the capillaries, and these capillaries will finally carry the nutrients back into the vena cava and will be circulated back into the circulatory system. The last step is tubular secretion. Nitrogenous waste and toxic substances are actively passed on into the DCT, and this process is called as tubular secretion. Now finally, by glomerular filtration, tubular reabsorption and tubular secretion, the urine is ready to be passed on to the collecting duct, and finally from the collecting duct it will be carried to the ureters and will be stored in the urinary bladder for temporary storage. Removal of ammonia, maintenance of homeostasis, maintenance of osmoregulation, all these important processes taking place with the help of excretory system. Imagine in case if the system fails. Yes, of course, there are certain conditions in which the system fails to filter out our blood, and the condition may be called as renal failure. Renal failure means the failure of kidney to filter blood. This renal failure may lead to accumulation of toxins into the body, and maybe the condition may be fatal to us. This can be cured by either transplantation of kidney in extreme conditions, and if the kidneys are not completely failed but are partially not able to function, then we can go for another process which is called as dialysis. Dialysis is the process that can imitate the functions of kidneys. Let us go into the details how dialysis functions. Here you can see a system of dialysis in which there is a dialyzer which is centrally placed into the system. This is dialyzer which is separated into two compartments with the help of a semi-permeable membrane. Now in the upper compartment we have the blood. Blood is drawn out from the human body from the venous system and is brought to the dialyzer. Now this blood is rich in waste materials, and the fluid which is filled in the lower compartment is known as dialyzing fluid. This fluid has a lower concentration of waste materials, and the blood that has been brought to the dialyzer has a higher concentration of waste materials. So through this semi-permeable membrane, the waste materials move from their higher concentration to their lower concentration, that is from the blood to the dialyzing fluid. Now this dialyzing fluid is continuously replaced so that the concentration of waste materials is always maintained lower, so that whatever blood is coming here, the concentration of waste material is higher in the blood and it goes on moving towards the dialyzing fluid. Once the waste materials are moved into the dialyzing fluid, the blood is filtered and is free of all the waste materials, then will be carried back to the human body once again. This is how this can be an extension of our circulatory system which helps in filtration of blood. Right, here we have fresh dialyzing fluid, and this continuously is supplied to the dialyzer, and is the dialyzing fluid which has the waste material is saved in this particular container. This is how the process of dialysis helps in replacing the kidney temporarily. In case if there is a partial renal failure, this process is of great help, and the number of times the dialysis is required depends upon the extent of failure of kidney. In case if the extent of failure is more, the number of times the patient requires dialysis is more, and so on. The second major issue the kidneys face is deposition of calcium salts, which is also known as, the structure is also known as kidney stones. As we all know that tubules reabsorb minerals, water. Now out of these minerals, one of the most important minerals is calcium. The concentration, a certain level of calcium is required in the blood for various systems. Now in case whatever calcium is required, the body has more calcium and the tendency of the tubules to reabsorb calcium is more, the excess calcium gets deposited in the kidneys, and this excess calcium deposits in the kidneys in the form of kidney stones. The only solution to this problem is to excrete a highly dilute urine. If you increase the dilution levels of the urine, the reabsorption of calcium can be reduced, and due to reduced calcium reabsorption, the deposition of calcium also will be reduced. So the only way for way out of kidney stones is to maintain high dilution levels in the kidneys, and that is by drinking excess of water. One more very important thing we have already discussed about is on the medicine box you might have seen warnings written there that overdoses may be dangerous to liver and kidneys. Like the excess of calcium gets deposited in the kidneys, same ways those excess toxins, if added in the form of medicines, may get deposited in the kidney and may be dangerous to the kidneys. So take care of the kidneys, keep your body clean and stay safe. I hope the video was useful to you all. Thank you so much.